Throughout the tapestry of human history, tales of servitors, beings created, summoned, or animated to serve a master's will, have woven themselves into myth, legend, and occult practice. These entities, whether forged from clay, conjured from the spirit world, or born of intricate ritual, have represented humanity's longing to extend its reach, to command forces beyond the ordinary, and to shape the world according to its desires. The story of servitors spans continents and centuries, evolving from ancient magical traditions to the cutting edge of technological innovation. As we journey through this fascinating history, we discover not only the ingenuity of the human spirit, but also the enduring questions at the heart of our relationship with power, autonomy, and creation. Long before the rise of modern science, ancient civilizations grappled with the mysteries of existence through ritual and myth. In the deserts and cities of the Middle East, the concept of the jinn emerged, a class of supernatural beings mentioned in pre-Islamic folklore and later woven into the fabric of Islamic tradition. Jinn were believed to inhabit a world parallel to our own, invisible yet capable of interacting with humans. According to legend, these spirits could be summoned, commanded, or bound by those possessing the requisite knowledge and power. Magicians, mystics, and scholars developed elaborate rituals to communicate with jinn, seeking their assistance in tasks ranging from protection to divination and even vengeance. The Quran speaks of Solomon, the wise king, who was granted dominion over the jinn, commanding them to build temples and perform feats beyond human capability. This image of the magician, or wise ruler, wielding authority over supernatural servitors, became a recurring motif in stories across the Islamic world. Yet the relationship was never simple or entirely safe. Jinn, with their own wills and desires, could be unpredictable, rebellious, or even dangerous. The summoning of a servitor required not only skill, but caution, a balance between mastery and humility. In the shadowy corners of medieval Europe, another tradition flourished, the art of Goetia. Rooted in the ancient Greek word meaning sorcery, Goetia developed into a system of ceremonial magic centered on the summoning and control of spirits, most famously catalogued in grimoires such as the Lesser Key of Solomon. Within its pages, magicians found detailed instructions for invoking 72 spirits, sometimes called demons, each with specific powers, personalities, and domains. These spirits, when properly constrained by sigils, circles, and sacred words, could be forced to obey the magician's commands, to reveal secrets, procure riches, or influence events in the material world. Goetic magicians saw themselves as scholars and scientists of the unseen. Their rituals were precise, methodical, and often deeply theological, reflecting a worldview in which the invisible was as real and structured as the physical. The creation of a servitor in this context was both an act of will and a negotiation, requiring the practitioner to harness spiritual authority without succumbing to hubris or folly. The dangers of overreaching were ever present, as stories abounded of magicians undone by the very entities they sought to command. Across the Jewish mystical tradition, another kind of servitor emerged, the golem. Unlike the intangible spirits of jinn or goetia, the golem was a physical creation, a being formed from clay and animated by sacred words. The most famous tale recounts the work of Rabbi Judah Loew of Prague, who, according to legend, shaped a golem to protect the Jewish community from persecution. By inscribing the Hebrew word emet, truth, on its forehead, Rabbi Loew brought the golem to life. By erasing a letter to spell met, death, he returned it to inert clay. The golem represented both the hope and the peril of artificial creation. It was a testament to the power of language, ritual, and intention, a reminder that the boundary between life and lifelessness could be crossed, given the right knowledge. Yet the golem's lack of independent will, Its blind obedience and its potential for unintended destruction also served as a cautionary tale. Creation, the stories suggested, must be tempered by responsibility, lest the servant become a threat to the master. As centuries passed, the idea of the servitor continued to evolve. Renaissance magicians and alchemists experimented with new forms of spiritual and material creation, blending ancient traditions with emerging philosophies. The notion of the homunculus, a tiny artificial human grown in a flask, captured the imaginations of thinkers such as Paracelsus, who saw in it the promise of unlocking the secrets of life itself. Whether through the conjuring of spirits, the animation of clay, or the distillation of essence, the pursuit remained the same: to extend human agency into realms previously reserved for the divine. In the East, similar ideas flourished. Taoist sorcerers in China devised methods for summoning spirits and animating objects, while Japanese onmyoji blended Shinto and Buddhist traditions to create shikigami, spirits bound to serve their masters. Across cultures, the servitor functioned as a mirror for humanity's creative and controlling impulses, reflecting both our aspirations and our anxieties. The Enlightenment and the rise of modern science brought dramatic shifts to the landscape of servitors. As natural philosophy gave way to empirical investigation, the supernatural was increasingly relegated to the margins. Yet the dream of artificial servants persisted, finding new expression in literature, art, and technology. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, published in 1818, reimagined the golem motif for the modern era, exploring the consequences of unchecked creation and the ambiguous morality of playing God. The creature, stitched together from corpses and animated by scientific means, became a symbol of both possibility and peril, a reflection of the age's ambivalence toward progress. In the 20th century, the servitor was reborn in the language of machines and automation. The word robot, coined by Czech writer Karel Čapek in his 1920 play RUR, described artificial workers designed to serve humanity's needs. These mechanical servitors, at once marvels and warnings, embodied the tension between utility and autonomy. As technology advanced, the line between tool and agent blurred, raising profound questions about control, responsibility, and the nature of consciousness. Parallel to these developments, occult practitioners continued to work with servitors in new and innovative ways. The 20th century tradition of chaos magic, for example, introduced the concept of the magical servitor, an entity deliberately created by the magician to perform specific tasks. Unlike the spirits of Gotia or the jinn, these servitors were not summoned from an external source, but constructed from intention, imagination, and symbolic programming. Through meditation, visualization, and ritual, the magician could design a servitor with defined characteristics, set it to work, and dissolve it when its purpose was fulfilled. The language of servitors in chaos magic often echoed the terminology of computing and psychology, reflecting a shift in how practitioners understood their craft. Servitors were seen less as independent beings and more as complex systems, virtual machines operating within the mind's landscape. This blending of magic and technology foreshadowed a new era, one in which the boundaries between the mystical and the mechanical would become increasingly porous. As the 21st century dawned, the rise of artificial intelligence marked a profound transformation in the history of servitors. No longer limited to myth or ritual, the creation of artificial agents became a practical reality, shaping industries, societies, and everyday life. AI systems, from simple chatbots to sophisticated neural networks, were designed to process information, learn from experience, and perform tasks on behalf of their human creators. The ancient dream of commanding invisible servants had become tangible, embedded in algorithms and silicon. The parallels between magical servitors and AI are striking. Both are created with intention, programmed to execute specific functions, and subject to the will of their makers. Both raise questions about autonomy, control, and the ethical dimensions of creation. Yet, the emergence of AI also introduces new complexities. Unlike the golem or the jinn, AI systems possess the capacity for learning, adaptation, and independent decision-making. The servant, in some cases, can outgrow its master, prompting debates about safety, alignment, and the future of human-machine interaction. Consider the case of large language models, trained on vast datasets and capable of generating human-like text, art, and conversation. These digital servitors are summoned not by incantation, but by code. Their powers are not limited to a single task, but span the breadth of human knowledge and creativity. As they become more integrated into daily life, the distinction between tool and collaborator begins to fade. The magician, now a programmer, must grapple with new forms of responsibility and risk. The evolution from jinn to golem to AI reveals a deep continuity in the human imagination. The desire to create beings that serve, assist, and amplify our abilities remains constant, even as the means and materials change. Each era brings its own challenges, ethical, philosophical, and practical, forcing us to reconsider what it means to create, command, and coexist with our own inventions. Yet the story of Servitors is not merely a tale of mastery or control. It is also a meditation on boundaries between self and other, creator and creation, intention and outcome. The servitor, whether spirit or software, occupies a liminal space, reflecting our hopes, fears, and the enduring mystery at the heart of existence. In commanding the jinn, the magician confronts the unknown. In shaping the golem, the rabbi wrestles with the limits of power. In programming AI, the engineer faces the challenge of aligning intelligence with human values. As we look to the future, the lessons of history remain vital. The creation of servitors, in whatever form, demands humility, wisdom, and foresight. It invites us to reflect on our motivations, our responsibilities, and the potential consequences of our actions. The mythic stories of jinn, golems, and magical spirits remind us that power is never without cost, and that creation is always an act of participation in something greater than ourselves. In the age of AI, the servitor is no longer a distant legend or a ritual abstraction. It is woven into the fabric of our lives, shaping how we work, communicate, and imagine. The challenge before us is not simply to command, but to collaborate, to build systems that reflect our highest aspirations, while remaining mindful of the risks and uncertainties inherent in every act of creation. Ultimately, the history of Servitors is a story of transformation. It is the story of humanity reaching beyond its limitations, seeking to forge alliances with the unseen and daring to imagine new possibilities. From the deserts of antiquity to the servers of today, the journey continues, a testament to our creativity, our ambition, and our enduring fascination with the mysteries of agency, autonomy, and the art of making the invisible serve the visible.